Topic 4, racial disparities in home loans. This question is based on home loan applications that lending institutions have reported to the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau in compliance with the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act. The following analysis is based on loan applications for mortgages for single-family, owner-occupied homes. The analysis is based on 19 years of data from 2007 to 2025. In most municipalities in the 5th Middlesex District, the mortgage applications from Black home buyers are denied at a higher rate than those from white home buyers. This chart shows the home purchase loan denial rates across the 5th Middlesex District municipalities. The red bar is the denial rate for Black applicants, and the blue bar is the denial rate for white applicants. Again, Massachusetts is provided for comparison at the far right. So across Massachusetts, across these years, 23% of Black applicants had their loan application denied compared to 15% of white applicants. Black applicants are more likely to be denied than white applicants due to debt-to-income ratio and insufficient cash. So when application is denied, several reasons can be cited for why the application was denied. Here you see for all of the applications denied, the reasons provided, and this is across all the denials in the 5th Middlesex District municipalities. So debt to income ratio was cited as a reason in 44% of the applications that were denied for Black applicants. Again, that's the red bar again is the reasons for denial for Black applicants. Debt to income ratio was cited in 34% of the applications denied for white applicants. Again, the white applicant denial rate is the reasons are in the blue bar. We also mentioned insufficient cash, and that, as you can see, the denial rate, or that was cited as a reason in 14% of the denials for Black applicants compared to 7% of the denials for white applicants. Debt to income ratio is the top reason for denials across all of Massachusetts. So again, we see the reasons provided for why the application was denied. This is across all applications provided, reported across Massachusetts. Again, the reasons for denial for Black applicants in the red bars, the reasons for denial for white applicants in the blue bars. So across all of Massachusetts, debt to income ratio was cited as a reason for 42% of the Black application denied compared to 35% of the white applications denied. Question 4. In your first 2 years, what steps would you initiate to increase the number of Black homeowners in Massachusetts?
This question is also, very important and interesting to me personally for 2 different reasons. The first is that I'm an affordable housing attorney by trade. And the second is I'm a student of history. And I think that the history is so important when we come to the lack of homeownership in the Black or brown community in our country. It largely comes from redlining, which prohibited people from moving into different areas or getting loans in different areas. And that was the official policy of like the U.S. government for a long time. And a lot of our de facto segregation to this day is a remnant of that redlining. Additionally, there's the GI Bill. So the GI Bill was an opportunity for returning veterans from World War II to get home loans, education loans, and the GI Bill was not available to veterans of color. These are just fundamental harms that are that we have to deal with to this day. And how do we reconcile that? How do we fix for those harms of the past? Like I mentioned, I'm an affordable housing attorney by trade, and so affordable homeownership opportunities are essential. We are not building enough homes in our community in our communities for seniors to age in place, for families to grow and flourish. And so I think it is really essential that we build more housing. As a state senator, I would fight for more affordable housing funds, and that would likely be through EOHLC, which is the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, mass housing, making sure that we are funding and leading with our values when it comes to building and providing opportunities for people in our community, people of color, to really get that opportunity to own a home. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have the benefit of having stable housing. And that is just so essential. If you don't have a good night's sleep, it is really hard to go to work. It is really hard to be a good student. And so I think this is such an essential question, and I appreciate this question being put out there. Thank you.
Housing may be the most intractable issue when it comes to affordability in Massachusetts. And as a state representative, I've been proud to support the Affordable Homes Act, which is the single largest investment of state resources in housing production and policy in ever, actually, historically. And, not only is housing challenging for anyone, as your data shows, there are also racial disparities and discrimination embedded into the system. So as a state senator and as a policymaker, we need to continue to focus on those nonprofit partnerships that assist with, making folks aware of the opportunities for grants and other resources that are available to become homeowners. I think of my own housing resource that I've put up on my website and updated over the last 6 years as a state rep as another example of supporting folks who are trying to make rent or make a mortgage. We also need to recognize that it's not just lower income people of color who may be having trouble. Even people who have the wealth behind them face discrimination in the process. So we need to make sure that we are supporting the enforcement mechanisms with the right resources to the Attorney General's office, to the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, and to other enforcement agencies, so that when people of color who are trying to purchase homes are denied, access because of racial discrimination, people are held to account. So as state senator, I'll continue to look for opportunities to expand opportunities to purchase. I'm thinking, for example, of the tenant right to purchase provision that I supported in the House's recent economic development bill, and all sorts of different tools to be available to people of color to be able to get support. That means elevating also and highlighting those nonprofit organizations, the banks and various credit unions that have particular programs that may be available to folks, making sure that we really celebrate those folks who are leaning in on addressing racial disparities and discrimination in housing.
Question 4. In the first 2 years, what would I do to increase the number of Black homeowners in Massachusetts? And this is such an important question because housing is a cornerstone issue. If you don't have stable housing, you can't hold down a job. It's hard to get well when you're sick. It's hard to get to school. It's hard to have your kids get to school. And homeownership specifically allows people to build wealth. That's been the main way that folks have built wealth in this country for generations. The communities of the 5th Middlesex District have been a corridor of opportunity for immigrants, for folks who are born working class, to create a life for themselves and their families. And we feel that opportunity slipping away because we know the housing crisis is so acute and driving everything else up. So we have to tackle a bunch of those different pieces. The data that we're looking at here specifically looks at home loans and getting denied loans or having trouble closing. And I think that's really important because that's a big leverage point. And I say that as somebody who used a first-time homebuyer program that allowed us to have a smaller down payment without the cost of mortgage insurance. I don't know how we would have come up with 20% to bid. And then helped make sure that we had some understanding about how to get through that process. It's very, very intimidating. If you don't have people in your orbit who have gone through this or gone through it recently, to figure out how to make decisions about property. And so everything we can do to support the community outreach so that people get in the door to talk about these programs, that banks know about them. I think we need to make sure that bank lending officers understand these programs so that they can represent them well to folks who come in. And that we, or other lending institutions, not just banks, and that we're really trying to create that pathway that folks can be a part of. There's other interventions I think that we need as well. just helping to increase the supply of homes. Like starter level homes is really important. 2 and 3 family units can often be much cheaper. That's different than the kind of luxury condos, which is often what manages to get built. But making sure that we have income and affordable housing, income restricted affordable housing. Those projects, when they come together, are huge opportunities for folks who are first-time home buyers. And we need to make sure that they are put in the fast lane when they come together in our communities, because they're so rare. They're so hard to make work. So I want to support that supply issue so that there are more opportunities to bid for. I am also mindful how much people are getting outbid with just cash on hand. I think we need more standards about what can go into that interaction in a bid about a house or a condo, because we want to make sure that folks have a fair shot at being able to get that property. So I think some more standards about that would be really helpful. And then we just have to make sure that we're really enforcing the fair housing laws that we have. Some of those have been federal fair housing laws that now need to be backed up in state law, because the federal government under Trump is coming after our communities. So I really want to make sure that all of those federal housing standards we've relied on the Department of Housing and Urban Development to have are also backed up in state law, because we cannot count on the federal enforcement anymore. So those would be priorities of mine to improve home ownership among Black folks in Massachusetts.